Hey guys, I'm Jess Holsinger, and today I'm going to talk to you about Oregon's Death with Dignity Act. First of all, I want you guys to imagine yourselves at 70 years old or a family member around that age who is terminally ill or that has cancer that can't be cured. Many people have died in the past of a painful death by suffering with no other options. It wasn't until an act was introduced to help solve this problem and end suffering of certain terminally ill individuals. The Oregon Death with Dignity Act was established to legalize physician-assisted suicide with certain restrictions. It was one of the world's first jurisdictions to permit ill patients to determine the time of their death, much like Craig Ewer in the Suicide Tourist video we watched. According to Oregon.gov, when the act was passed in 2008, 401 patients participated, with 81.8% of the patients suffering from cancer. Under its guidelines, the patient must give the physician several written and oral requests. Before the physician prescribes the lethal medication, they must inform the patient of alternative choices they may wish to take, such as hospice care, comfort care, and pain control. This secures whether or not the patient truly desires to follow through with a medical-based assisted suicide. There are several other strict guidelines the physician must follow to support their statement, that being they do not initiate suicide, mercy killing, or homicide. On top of several appeal attempts and controversy among family members and communities, there have been a couple issues that have approached the Death with Dignity Act ethically. The philosophies of virtue, duty, and utilitarianism come into conflict in this jurisdiction for several reasons. According to Aristotle, one must strive to be virtuous. Many argue that to achieve this, doctors must do everything in their power to help the patient. But if there is no cure or nothing the doctor can do to save the patient from suffering, what do they do? According to Kant, everybody has a sense of duty in doing the right thing. Virtuous acts and the idea of duty involve putting an end to suffering. Many philosophers would also agree that the Death with Dignity Act's ideas are especially representative of utilitarianism. According to Mill and his philosophy, the individual, or physician in this case, should try to promote happiness and end suffering for all who are involved. If this is what the patient truly wants, then the doctor should prescribe the lethal medication in order to end the patient's suffering at their request. Family members also play a part the majority of the time under these circumstances. Under utilitarianism, their suffering must end too. Nobody wants to see their mother die from lethal medication, but nobody wants to see their mother die of breast cancer and suffer through it either. The outcome will be the same either way. It's just a matter of deciding whether you want to watch them suffer or not. There are ways the Death with Dignity Act directly clashes with the components of the ethical philosophies we've covered, but in this case there are many exceptions. I believe the Death with Dignity Act is ethical under utilitarianism and its standards, as do many other controversies. Overall, a suffering person is an unhappy person, and so are their family members. At 8 years old, I watched my grandmother suffer through cancer, and we didn't have any other options. Had the Death with Dignity Act been passed by then, at least she and my family could have chosen other alternatives and possibilities. That's why I believe it is ethically acceptable to give the option to terminally ill patients to decide the date of their own death before they no longer can remember who they are or can make decisions of themselves, or be able to say yes or no. Utilitarianism stresses that suffering must be minimized, which is exactly what the Death with Dignity Act grants to terminally ill patients who don't want to suffer anymore.